Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Talk Western to Me podcast. I'm your host, Kate, editor and writer for Western Horse UK. For our debut episode, we're joined by a truly inspiring guest, Nicole Sherwood, a UK certified coach, horse trainer, and Western rider. Nicole combines modern and traditional horsemanship to foster deep connections between riders and their equine partners. She's also the founder of the Urban Horse School, so saddle up and let's dive in.
Nicole, welcome to the podcast. Can you start by sharing a bit about your background and what led you to Western riding?
My name's Nicole Sherwood. I'm a coach and a horse trainer. I think I was about 12 when I was riding my little pony around the village on my own. And I saw this guy in Western Tack, and he was riding his horse with that bridle on with a rope around his neck. And I just remember thinking, I'd love to learn how to do that. So I rode my little pony home, told my mum, fair play to her, she went and found this guy. And he started giving me lessons. And I learned off him, basically. His name was Rebel, the horse. The guy was Roger Parks. And he taught me, and I got into wares, riding his thoroughbred, did showing through wares. Then I think I was about 14, just coming up to 15, and my mum bought me a quarter horse, and then we went into AQHA showing, and it just went on from there, really. Yeah, it's quite a passion of mine, really.
Yeah, definitely. So what inspired you, that passion obviously, but what then inspired you to make it more accessible to a wide range of riders, the horsemanship, and especially those that maybe hadn't considered it before?
Well, when I came out of youth, I didn't actually want to I didn't want to train horses. I had multiple opportunities to do it, but I just didn't want to. I was just happy training my own horses and enjoying them, going out to clinics and going out to shows. And it wasn't really for probably like 10 years after, when my son had to go to school, and I just wanted to. I couldn't stop riding. I watched so much content, as in horse training, and it is like a slight addiction of mine. So it was really a brainer to go and train horses, and it got to the point where it was money pit. Really, a few things happened to me with the horses, with my own horses, before I became a trainer. Which every time I went into the show pen, or tried to go into the show pen again after youth, things would happen. Strange things would happen with the horses. And then I just felt that it was fate trying to tell me, you've got another path. So once I stopped chasing the show pen and trying to get back in there after youth, obviously I had money, and I just started looking at the horse I had in front of me in the now, rather than thinking ahead and trying to get him to the best place he could be in the show pen and, whatever. So then I started seeing things differently, and things would happen differently to when I was trying to show them and train them for the show pen. So instead of like drilling them and, trying to get your manoeuvres perfect, I just sort of, I can't explain it. I started just feeling things and observing things, and he just hooked onto me more than any of my other horses I ever had. And I've always had a special relationship with my own horses for whatever reason. I think now, with the knowledge I know, I have a type of energy, maybe, and a way that attract them to me. And they want to stay with me, they want to be with me. And I can't put in words what that would be. All right. But when I was in youth and when I was younger, I never knew. I was unaware of what this energy I had that they liked, if the simple words I could put it. So then watching Money Pit and having like a super relationship with him, it got me thinking, I want to then now share how the experience I've had and try and help other people connect this way with their horses. Whereas before, I didn't really particularly want to help riders. I would have trained the horses, but I would more be horse focused. But now, at the stage I am and with the things I've seen and experienced, it's much more beneficial to train the handler, the rider. And again, coming into the horsemanship circle and coming out of Western showing performance, I just can't believe, especially in the English world, that people don't know the things that we know as standard in the Western world, as in the horsemanship, the showmanship. And when I say showmanship, I mean the handling of the horses, how we show the hand, the obedience of them, and the connection that we have. And that's what really has driven me to really break my coaching down, because I mainly have problem horses or people that have come in and have no knowledge. The question I get most is, why was I never taught this? Yeah. And for me, we used to work at a riding school 5 years ago. And I used to do the pony club on a Saturday, and then I used to do coaching one Thursday evening. And it really was an eye opener of how people learn to ride, and you had to really change your way you presented, because it was so basic that you couldn't really coach them. They just had to have time on the horse so they could learn to actually balance themselves on a horse. And it was very very hard for me, actually, to be honest with you. But that taught me a lot, because a lot of these people would come to the riding school, they'd have a couple of months lessons or whatever. Even with the kids, they'd have a couple of months lessons with the kids, and then they say, right, I want to buy a pony, or I want to buy a horse of my own. But these people come, the horse is saddled up, they've got no knowledge of really saddling the horse or horse care. They go and buy a horse or a pony for their children, and they go to a yard. That's where then they get the education, and depending on the quality of the people on the yard, that's where they then get their further education. And depending then if they go into showing, or maybe they just be happy hackers, they've got a little manage there, they play with their friends in it, that's the standard that they stay at, unless they do go into some sort of showing or different discipline. And that's what made me realise that's why you're these questions to me, like, why wasn't I never taught this? Because it really depends on the education that the yard that they went to.
It's that old adage, isn't it? You don't know what you don't know, and it's only when you know better you can do better. And I think one of the good things is that as horse people, our measure of success isn't just about ribbons anymore. It is about the relationship we have. It is about that feel that you talk about. Because, people think feel is, an actual physical touch and how you feel the horse between the reins or between your legs and your seat. Feel can be felt right across the other side of arena. You don't have to be next to a horse to have that kind of relationship with them. And I think something you do very well, Nicole, is expose people that, that there is another way and there are other options when it comes to horses, and what you can do with them and for them as opposed to just to them.
Definitely. And it's very hard to coach. I like that old saying, when if you can't do, people teach. Like, it used to be a Mickey take, didn't it?
Yeah.
But really, when you have to break it down, read it a bit by bit to someone who knows nothing about timing or feel, or even the manoeuvres that you're going to do in horsemanship, in the groundwork. But for instance, circle driving is a big one, because they have to stay behind the drive line. They have to relax their body, but also direct the horse. Then they have to learn to stop it, change direction. The circle driving is really hard for someone to get grasp of. It's mad for me, because I remember when I first started looking at Clinton Anderson's program and doing the circle driving and change of direction, because again, it was something I wouldn't do when I was in the Chopin as a youth, because just got on the road, you didn't really do the groundwork. The horse was, at a certain standard. So even moving the hind and stuff, it's second nature to me, and moving the shoulder a step at a time and all this groundwork. But I never did in youth. Now, because it's one of the main things that I'd say that's quite, I don't like to say expert or master or anything, because I think we're all students of the horse. And I'm very humble. So, but it's something I've really, because I'm a colt starter, there's a certain pattern that I'm constantly practicing, and that's the groundwork, the first ride, and the first couple of weeks of riding, take them out on the road. That's my niche, if you like, because I'm constantly doing it. I don't tend to have performance horses in, just because of the way I work and my facilities, if you like. It's more of a natural environment to start youngsters in, and that's where. And it just shows really that I don't to show that you don't need a manage. And then that appeals to other people that don't have manages and have always ridden in a grass field and have got to then bring their horse, once it's back, into a grass field. So And because I've never had a score, I've never really missed it. I don't know what I'm missing.
Yeah, I mean, when I learned to ride in the deep dark 90s, I didn't have access to an arena. I did all my schooling when I was hacking or my road work or I mean, don't get me wrong, now in my mid 40s, I'm quite glad I've got access to an arena. But I think we can get really fixed on where we're doing the training as opposed to the training itself. I think that's the thing that people, and like you say, you doing it in a field and without a menage kind of reinforces it isn't about the school, it isn't about the menage, it's about the teaching and the relationship and the education of that young horse.
It's the connection, and I
100%.
find had like say some performance. I'm calling them performance horses, and what I mean by that is a horse that's pretty much already trained. It can walk, trot, canter. It's been out to clinics. It's been out to a few shows. Maybe mainly those type of horses come to me either because someone's bought them and they want to go hacking, or
Yeah.
the owner wants to go hacking and haven't been exposed to that sort of thing. So the first thing that I find is that they really struggle to work in a field environment where the hedges are blowing, there's people walking, there's cyclists going past on the road, there's people moving in houses and gardens, there's cars going past on the road. Their attention is not on you but on the environment, and they struggle at first for that. Because for me, if you trained in a manage and that's it for the horse, as most of the performance horses do, unless they're lucky enough to have owners that do want to hack them out. And remember, performance horses, some of the really highly trained ones, are also bred to have that little bit of sharpness in them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, of course, when you do put them in, they're bred for the show pen. They're not bred for trail horses, if you know what I'm saying. So for them, it's very difficult for the horse, those type of horses, to then, they've been left in a classroom most of their life, if you like, and then when you bring them out of the classroom, it overwhelms them. It shows if they've been shut off as well, to be honest with you. But they then have to really connect to the rider, myself, or have to teach them to connect to the owner more, rather than taking over in an environmental change. And this again is really interesting for me and interesting for people that I explain this to, because they think, oh, it's really spooky on the road, or whoa, whoa. And it's not that. It's the fact that they may have rode him in the pen. The horse is very comfortable, confident in the pen and sort of manage, but that horse might have not really taken much leadership from the rider because he knows his job in the pen. So when you take him out, because he hasn't got that leadership from the rider or the trust or the confidence from the rider, then his self-preservation feels that he needs to take over in the situation because he doesn't trust the rider or the handler. And again, this is most of my training, is to teach the horse, well, take a step back. I am the leader. I'm leading this ride, not you. Take a step down. And most of them, they really appreciate that. You'll see as soon as you have it, there's not a battle, but there's a little bit of, I'm not sure I can trust you sort of thing, but we'll get that on the groundwork. And then when you do take them on the road or you ride them in that sort of environment, especially when the wind gets up, the people are cutting their grass, the hedge cutters going, they have to then learn to switch off from all these environmental changes and still be in connection with your cues. And then that for me comes from, that's you, that's the horse. You're not really working together. Whereas when the connection comes, you're working as one. And it's like that old saying that Ray Hunt used to say, first it's the horse, you go with them, then they go with you, then you go together.
Go together, yeah.
That's great, quote. All the Ray Hunt stuff, in fact, I don't know if I should tell this or not, but my next tattoo on my arm, I'm going to have all the Ray Hunt quotes on my sleeve, because every problem I've come to with a horse that I've been like, not sure how to deal with it, everything has been answered from a Ray Hunt quote.
No, I can, yeah, definitely. He's definitely the godfather of this style of horsemanship for sure. So obviously, as you've built your business as a trainer and cult starter, Nicole, what have been your biggest challenges as you've built your business and sort of really followed this path?
Well, to be honest, one of the biggest challenges I have felt is not being able to reach out to other professionals and have that camaraderie and have that, I don't know how to put it, not teamwork, but have that relationship with
Community.
other
It's a community, isn't it?
community.
Yeah.
That word. That would be my biggest struggle, because I didn't go into an apprenticeship with a particular trainer or anything like that. Obviously, I went through multiple trainers when I was in youth, and had training from them. And I only trained my own horses, but I didn't go in an apprentice with anyone. So I'd already had a set of skills that I'd done on my own horses, and all I did was take them to literally create someone else's horse like I do my own. Because as you know, and if people know me, then I'll put a special stamp on each one of my horses. Whether you want to call it bomb-proofing, trust or whatever. All my horses go out on the road. I can take them into town, the kids can crawl all over them, but they can still go in the show pen if I want to. But that's the type of horses I like, and I find, again, people want me to train their horses to be like that. A more all-round versatile horse, a family horse, a part of the family, but they can also go and have fun and not get hurt on them as well. But it also depends on the personality of the horse. But on questions I've had, and I do watch, like I said, my education is teaching myself, is going through all the Ray Hunt stuff, all the Bill Donald stuff, Clinton Anderson, Warwick Schiller. I do watch a little bit of the TRT method, because I need to also see the English side to relate it to my English riders. But if I have questions, what you've got to remember on videos, when you're doing videos in this modern age, is we can't show, I don't want to say juicy bits, but the actual problems and how to fix them, because there is so much red tape you could do on videos now, because when you put it out on social media, like I do, and you have to be careful not to upset your audience. You've got...
It's really a fine line, isn't it? Because obviously it's a moment in time in video, so you haven't got the context of before and after, and things can be taken the wrong way. Yeah, absolutely. You obviously you're making yourself very vulnerable as a clinician by exposing the. You have to be careful about what you put on there. It's just good public relations, really.
And I hope this comes across the right way. What I mean is that you're not putting an image up and then you're doing something else behind the camera. It's just the fact, especially in this country, no one wants to see how it is made. Clinton Anderson had a good quote, was this basically, it's going to look ugly. It's like when you put a new kitchen in your kitchen, you got to rip the old one out, and then it's going to look nice after. But people don't want to see. They just think, here's my horse, fix it, and I'm going to click my fingers, it's going to be all right. But sorry, I'm trying to get back to the point of the question. If I am unsure, because I do like to follow old school and new school training, but there's loads of old school stuff, but not so much of the new school stuff, all right? So when I've been to the showcase a few times, I've asked Warwick Schiller particular questions, and, he's given me answers. But with that relation of the horses that he may come across, especially now, all right? But when I come across a horse that is going to attack me, all right, if it doesn't get me with the teeth, it's going to try and get me with the feet, the front ones or the back ones. In that situation, I would like to be able to pick up the phone and talk to someone about it and say, what would you do? Advise me, someone who has been doing this longer than me, a senior trainer, but I just don't find that I am able to do that. And that's my biggest struggle that I've had being a horse trainer, to
Do
be
you think
honest
there's a
with you.
particular reason for that in this country? The illusion that there's a finite amount of work, when actually maybe that's one of the reasons why in this country, particularly with the horsemanship in the Western side of things, maybe that's why there isn't that community as much, because there's that fear of scarcity of resource, but actually that doesn't exist. Or is it just the horse world in general, do you think?
I really don't know, because I've spoke to many different trainers in different disciplines about this, and mainly I've reached out to them and spoke to them on the phone, because they may do something differently. Like I did speak to Ben Atkinson about it because he comes from a liberty way. So what I'm trying to say is, with these questions that I just say, so you might have a horse that's really, really scared and it's jumping all over the place. It's paying no attention to you at all. So obviously, old school way would be like, out of my space, move its feet. But the question I would like to ask different people to get different tools in my toolbox. But also, when you're presented with that problem, you have to have multiple exercises or things to do to see how the horse responds to them in the most positive way. And that's why I ask the questions. So, because what otherwise, especially as a trainer, you've got a time limit, whether you're in a lesson or you've got it in for training. I want the most effective way to get through to the horse in a most positive way and get the result that doesn't mentally upset the horse. Or does that make sense? To bring it down as quick as you can. So that's why I ask different people from different training backgrounds who do different disciplines. But even, and it is hard when you get asked that question, because even myself will get asked different questions from different people, and you have to be in a situation. But I find that if I did want to train, I don't want to say hairy fairy, but in this connection and not being dominant, if you like, without being dominant trainer, then I don't find that there's enough people to talk to about that way of training when you've got a horse is, really upset mentally or is actually very aggressive towards you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think, like you say, different people have different approaches, don't they? And it's always good to compare and ask for advice like you would with a friend about what they would do or what they would suggest. Because every horse is different and every situation is different. So we're only going to increase our own knowledge by sharing with others, aren't we?
Yes. And I'm not saying that, anyone hasn't, but, particularly,
No,
but I
no.
think it's just to try and answer your question, really, that's one of the things that I feel that I would enjoy more as a trainer, to be able to talk to other trainers. And I think people are busy, which I get, but I just think it's the English way over here, because if I talk to the American trainers, or even when I went to France, I've been to France a few times and spoke to some French horsemen, if you like, and they are so passionate and they're so willing to share. Even when I was at the showcase with and Wendy Witt, I don't know if you've ever heard, but I literally rolled up at the showcase. I saw this lady. I heard that a lady from Burn Saddlery was going to be at the showcase. She obviously, it was her. I was just rolling money picking. I was like, "Oh, you're from Burn Saddlery. Hello." Just being my usual friendly self. And I was just joking with her, saying, "You don't rope, do you?" And I meant it as like, "You're from America. You ride Western. Most likely going to rope." And obviously she said yes. And I was like, "Well, don't watch my demo then," because I was given the subject of roping, and obviously I'm no roping expert, but doing a demo, a hole that needed to be filled in the demo for me to do that, which I was happy to do. But then I didn't realise, I didn't know who this woman was, apart from her name was Wendy, and she was from Sarah. And then it wasn't till the end of the showcase, and I got really friendly with her, and I was just like, I was supposed to do 2 demos. Larissa gave me 4 demos, and I was like, oh, I'd done my content on the 2 demos, and then I got 2 more.
Yeah,
to
2
do.
more to do. Yeah.
Sing the same song. So I said to Wendy, I was like, "Do you want to come in and do, come and duo with me in these other 2 demos?" She was like, "Yeah." So I had some lovely, great time with this lady, and it was really funny when I told her, and she obviously is good on the camera, anyway, we just had some good times, but I didn't realise that she was like a social media icon until I got home, and she works at the university teaching people how to row. And I messaged her on Facebook. I said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I feel so ignorant. I didn't know you are the person that you are." And she just laughed, and she must have loved it. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, don't you love that? I love that though, and I love how humble she was as well. And she just went with it. It's very cool, and that's how we all kind of should be. Is Yeah, honestly, it sounds like something I'd do. But yeah, no, I think that's fabulous. That's so lovely, and it's those kind of relationships that last, isn't it? The ones that are kind of made on that sort of genuine connection, and um, yeah, no, that's amazing.
She said something in the demo. I tried to get it because she got someone here outside the round pen in the crowd to film it, a whole thing. She said, I can't remember exact words, but basically, if you've got knowledge, share it. And I
Absolutely, yeah.
just think Americans,
Mm.
but I don't know what it is about English people. I can be a leader and I can be a follower as a person. So when I get put into, say, more with people, this is, I am happy to step down and become a follower. All right, and whether just because I'm humble and willing to learn, I don't know. But if I have a senior horseman in front of me that's got more horses on the belt, more years on the belt, then I am happy to take their knowledge
Yeah,
or
let them
lead.
take the lead. Yeah.
I'll step down and let them take the lead. So I don't really know, but I want to learn. I want to know more. And I'm not get to a place where I know it all. There's so much to learn, and even in different genres, whether it's like body work or hooves. I mean, I rust my own hooves. I don't rust customers, but I've got a little bit of knowledge on everything. But I just think a lot of people don't have the confidence, maybe, to admit, do you know what, I need some help. And it's not sometimes it's not even that I do need help. It's just I'm the sort of person that wants to talk about it, wants to get some reassurance of someone that I'm doing the right thing. And the reason for that is because what I don't want to do is go down off the beaten path in your journey, and go down a little rabbit hole, as what it would say, or whatever, and spend weeks doing that, or days doing that, hours doing that, when you hit the wrong turn, the dead end, and then you've got to go back on the paved road, if you like. So that's the reason I do it. And it's great making your own mistakes. And that's probably why I've learned so much, because I have had to make mistakes and then, learn from them. But also I can explain that to the customers on why not to do that. Do you know why? Hasn't
Yeah.
someone just has gone, don't do that? It's just I've actually made the mistake and right, oh, that's what's going to happen. So again, I can explain that to my customers. If they say, oh, what about if this? What if we do this? What if I do that? I'll say, well, that's going to happen and that's going to happen. And they're like, oh, okay then. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think
Rather
we
than
need to normalize that asking questions, though. As you say, not everyone, we don't all know everything. Everyone has their own schools of thought and their own experiences and have made their own mistakes. But I think normalizing the asking of questions and the seeking out of knowledge is really good for people that aren't professional horsemen. We don't want it to build an environment where people don't like pupils or clients or just someone you're at a show with doesn't feel that they can ask for help, because you never know when you're going to need it, and we should be fostering that community with each other about and helping each other. Horses are a tough gig. We spend 6 months of the year up to our eyeballs in mud in this country, and the majority of us do it for the love of it. So I think anything we can do to make each other's lives a little bit easier isn't a bad thing.
no, it's not. And like you say, it's just sense of community and stuff. So I have reached out to so many different people, and I almost got sick of which I don't bother doing it anymore because I just get slammed door in the eyes, and to the point where even older trainers, where I've asked them that I would pay for their time for them to coach me or give me a series of exercises that they may have done and coach me. So, and what I'm thinking of, I want to pay you. But two, I'm respectful enough to come to you saying, do you know what? I respect you and what you do. I want to share what you do. Give it to me so I can relive it and pass it on to other people. And I don't know what it is. People are just like, but it's mine. I don't know. Maybe they don't like me. Remember, I'm a little bit of a wild card, Kate, because I do outspeak. I don't, I do outspeak. I ask these questions, and I don't think, especially being English, a lot of people, they don't like it. Some love it, some don't like it. But I'm not it doesn't matter to me if I upset anyone. In fact, I think it's really good for other people to see it, because they might start asking as well. I'm not just asking questions. I'm saying it about anything. It's nice for me when I trainers, American trainers or things on Facebook where they start being a little bit vulnerable and open, especially in like Warwick's podcasts. When I listen to Stacey Westfield's, you just see the video of her riding a horse bridleless years ago, and you think, wow, she's amazing. She must have been so confident. Have you ever listened to her podcast on Warwick's thing? Oh my God, like it was just, I was like, really?
Yeah,
And
I've
just
spent some time with Warwick. He was on the previous podcast, the Horsemanship Journal one, when so I interviewed Warwick, and I think this is it. It's getting to know these trainers as people, as individuals. They've all got their own journeys, and I think trainers like Warwick and the like, they don't have that ego anymore. It's not about who taught what taught. It's about their growth as a person as well. So, not to speak for Warwick, but I found when I spoke to him, him to be very honest and candid, and there's a real refreshing. It's really refreshing speaking to trainers and hearing their own personal journeys, and kind of, because it really does influence how they are with horses and how they are with you. You want someone to be consistent in how they treat people and horses, I think, not just one or the other. I think that's it, is that consistency in how you treat another living thing.
I've got to say, when the first time I met Warwick, the first time he came to the showplace, not last year, the year before, and I thought, fair play to him. And you have to, if you want to be that social media icon and get to his level. He doesn't know me. I think I might have, emailed a few times on a few questions, and fair play, he answered them. And I always am very grateful, very respectful if someone even answers a question that I ask. And I do say, I'm a horse trainer, I've seen your stuff, I'm just asking this question, all right.
Yeah.
And if they answer, I think fair play, because a lot of people don't bother. Even people I know from you don't even bother answering sometimes. Yeah, I know we're all busy, but for God's sake. But anyway, when I waited and I watched this guy, he was got a smile at Warwick at the showplace. Every time he went to the toilet or something like this, he interacted with people when they interacted with him. He always had a smile on his face. That guy sat there at his stall, his little, what I mean. And he answered the most craziest questions. I waited till the queue was lower towards the end of one of the days, and I went to join to ask my questions. And the questions he got asked were just nuts. But anyway, but he answered them, and he signed all his books, and I just thought, God, you must be absolutely knackered. But at no point did he not answer anyone's questions, did he not have a smile on his face. And I think he was quite refreshed when I came and asked my questions, because his energy came up. And I said, listen, I don't want to tell you my questions in front of all these people, because me as a person, I'm not very good in large social groups of people. Maybe it's because I just spend all my time alone with horses. I don't know. But so that overwhelms me a little bit, and I have to have my personal space. And Fairplay stepped away from the queue of people I had, and he let me ask him questions. But he just became very animated with his answers, and he was really, and it was just nice. And I was just like, I really appreciate you for your honesty, answering my questions and trying to laugh. And it was just nice, and I connected to him and felt more, I don't know, camaraderie, nicety, whatever, good energy from him than most people I know over here.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's when you have those conversations, it reignites that passion, doesn't it? Because, for as much as we love it and we do it, when it's just us talking to ourselves and the horses all the time, you need to have that banter, you need to have that interaction with like-minded souls, because that's what keeps us going and keeps us in it, because it isn't easy. Horses aren't an easy gig. No one wakes up and goes, do you know what? I'm going to have horses in my life. It is, I think it's something that's just in us as horse people. It's part of who you are. And yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's, I think it's really important to have and that's one of the reasons for the podcast. It's to have these conversations. It's to widen our community, because people are busy and we're spread all over the world, but doesn't mean we can't talk about it all.
think it's good, and the passion is the key word there, really. Like, I've still got tons of passion in me, and I want to talk to people about it because, to be honest with you, more probably what fuels this in me is my husband isn't horsey. Levi's not really into horses, and the main people I have around me, I am the senior horse person in that environment, in the environments I go into, coaching, training the horses and stuff. So I don't have senior horsemen around me. I feel now, I think I've been training for 6 years now. So 6 or 7 years I'm horse training. I feel I need it now.
Yeah.
Because there's an old thing my old school teacher used to say, the headmaster, when we sort of left the school, in his speech on the stage, and he was like, just summed up something like this. But it was like, you can spend your life pecking with the pigeons, or you can go and soar with the eagles. And so, and I know, not being rude to anyone, or if anyone's watching, it's one of my clients or nothing like that, but basically it's the lower level you're staying at all the time. And I'm not ever getting to practice either talking or doing the higher levels of horse training. And that's, for me, I don't want to be stuck at a level. I shared a video Clinton Anderson did when he's trying to better yourself as a horseman or whatever, and you feel like a crab in a bucket when you're trying to climb out and all the other crabs are pulling you back in, you know. And that's why I want to reach out to other trainers and talk to them. But I end up talking to people that aren't in this country, basically, because they're the only ones that, you know, like to have these conversations. To be fair, that what I will say right now before I forget, so I wouldn't want to watch this and say this, Steve Young is, I love him and I love Tanya because he's the only one that will reach out, and I don't try and bother him too much because, you know, he's busy with his life and his home horse training thing. And I wouldn't ever want him to think that I'm a Mickey taker or a P taker with all those questions and stuff. But he always, if I do a video, and he'll always say, that's great. Or he'll message me and go, do you know what? The answer to that is this, that's the other.
That's
And
lovely.
isn't it lovely? He invited me on his demo when it was at Solihull, which is about half an hour away from me. And I did ask him, I said, could I bring Bueno when you've got the audience there? That's all I asked, because they said, but do take it to the showcase. I need her to get used to
crowds, yeah.
I don't want to prepare my horse before I just go and take it in front of hundreds of people. Yeah. Does that, so, you know, a kite moment. And he was like, Nikki, come on the demo, we'll do, you know, and he just, I love that. And but unfortunately Steve, like, you know, 5 hours away.
No, Steve and Tanya are lovely. They were at the buck clinic I did years ago. I always remember them from then. And yeah, lovely couple, really nice. And that's so lovely to see that interaction. It's all that about that lifting each other up, isn't it? And just supporting each other. Because it's like you say, it's not about any other person. It's about your personal growth and what you want to learn, that then you can share, you know, and pay it forward when you know that stuff. It's an important, I think it's an important development as a horse person, not even as a trainer, but just as a horse person, you know, to continually learn. And, you know, when we know better, we can do better. So on that, you've worked with riders of all levels. What's the one bit of advice you'd give to someone starting out with horses? No pressure or anything there, Nicole.
Observe, and this will come from more of training point of view. It's observe the horses in the natural environment, how they interact with each other is the truth. And that's for whether it's a beginner or whatever, because the way they interact and socialise with each other is the truth. And that's really how you want to replicate your training and how to communicate to them. And when I get stuck in hairy fairyland, because I have gone down that way, and then I've really like messed myself up thinking I don't want to touch them, but I want to train them. Not touch them, but I want to be at the
I
end
know
of
what
the
you
rope.
mean. Yeah, you want it to be all cosmic.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, it's sometimes not as easy as just to sort of think that thought and it's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, the purity of what I'm saying for everyone is you need to go back to natural horse behaviour. Not because we're predators, remember. We're not going to ever act or know. Everyone thinks that we don't know the horse because we're predators and we're people. All right, the horse is purity. So if you watch them interact, and that you maybe need to think on, this is how I do it now in my training. If I see the horses reprimand themselves in a pack, then they'll look what they're doing. I will duplicate that behaviour. But it also depends on what type of leader you've got in that herd. And you can see if that's the horse you're training, which is the follower, then you can see, well, that's how much I've got to do, or how much pressure I'll put on a horse to make it do X, Y, Z, or whatever, or make it feel uncomfortable. So observing horses in the natural environment is is the best advice I get. And the second, if you're actually then handling them, is not to touch the rope on the halter and all the rein, right? Because people don't even know they're doing it. So yeah, but they'll spend ages. I'm gonna do the back up. Yeah. I'm gonna move the shoulder and spend ages. Get out of my space. This is my arm leg space. Yes. We've spent an hour on this now. Yes, and they go right. We just take it to the car, and then they just drag it. They're like, come on, man. And then the horse is like, whoa. On. You just spent an hour saying don't go in your space, and then they're like, it's just like, So I try and say to people, right, you can hold it into the rope, but you've got to use your body language. And again, this is so alien to us now in this day and age because everyone's like this. Yeah, there's no banter. If I'm in a queue, I will chat to people in the queue. Or, you know what I mean? And half the time it'll go well because you might get someone older than me that's used to banter, or you might get someone younger that is not used to banter and they think you're a weirdo. Stranger alert. They've got no social skills. It's like, oh, strangers talk to me, let's get my phone out.
Yeah.
But what body language, like I'm quite animated. And again, the horses like that because they can feel when I'm relaxed and I don't need them to when I do need them.
Yeah.
But very hard again for people to, especially women. Guys have a lot of hammering. Women have a lot of, we don't know. So with my sort of energy, it does sort of feed onto people. All right, people like it. All right, because they make them feel confident and then they come out their shell a little bit. But that again is hard. And people need to work on that with their body language. Again, watching the horses in the field will do that because there's nothing personal. We take everything so personal and we don't let go of it. But a horse, you tell another horse up like that with an Australian eating grass, they'll be like, and then hey.
Yeah.
But
it's devoid of emotion, isn't it, with horses? And I think that's something people really struggle with separating out is they need to remove the emotion from it. It is what it is. It's exactly that. Horses don't get offended because it's not overloaded with emotion for them and they don't hang on to it. They don't hold a grudge.
No, they don't hold a grudge. And again, I think it's very hard. It's very soothing. That's why they're therapy. That's why, animals are therapy to us because we just such a toxic world now where you've got to look the way you look, got to say the way you look. And then the purity of the animals and the horses and coming back to nature is so humbling and harmonic because we just do not get it because constantly when we walk out into the horseman, the human world, it's like you can feel. I'm very receptive to energy. So from other people, that's why I don't like being in public spaces.
Yeah.
Not so much, with around horse people, it's fine sometimes, but you can their energy, their unconfidence, their judgment, whatever, and I can feel that. And I don't like it. That's why I don't like being in large groups of people. But with the horses, you don't get that. And again, we could sort of just find that attunement from them using Warwick's words. But yeah.
Yeah, I think
I've
it's
probably
really
gone.
No, it's all really good stuff, and I'm exactly the same. Horses are truly in the moment. You're not receiving all of their baggage, whereas people carry a lot around with them, sometimes unwittingly, and it ends up on you. So finally,
Yeah.
what's next for you, Nicole? Are you doing the showcase again this year?
I'd like to do the showcase because I just think it's good for me to get out. Obviously, I do demos, I do pony club demos, but something like that with that volume of people is one good for me to get used to. The horses are usually better than me for it, but also I want to push my coaching more. To be honest, I'm going to take a step down from horse training this winter. I'm not going to train through winter anymore. it took a toll on me. The last 2 winters, I've got a victim of my own success, and I've had 2 horses in winter. So my ground has suffered. I have suffered mentally. My feet have suffered. My back has suffered. Because what you've got to remember is I do everything. I don't have people working for me, but it's because I like it that way. I build a better connection with horses, and I don't trust anyone to do anything correctly. So I do micromanage people in that way, just because I can't afford to have with other people's horses. So I can't trust it. So that, and I don't get to go away with my family. My husband goes away, my son, I don't get to go with them because I won't leave anyone in charge of other people's horses. And also I feel very guilty if I didn't ride them for a week or a weekend, or I'm very restricted my routine, and I'm very disciplined to the fact that, again, that mental pressure is hard to take sometimes, that people don't realise coming from horse transport for you. But I am not training for the depth of winter this year. So I'm going to push my coaching, and I have got some really cool stuff coming on the horizons. I might do my WES instructor. I have talked to the people I need to talk to about that, because obviously I'm a UK certified coach. In the area, I'd like to be supportive of anything to do with Western and horsemanship. So I push the horsemanship here for local people, because, again, I don't have the luxury of going out all around the country because I'm stuck with my family. Not stuck with my family, but
You have commitments at home.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And I've got to do the school run. I've got to look after my son. I've got to look after my husband. I've got to look after my business and my own horses. So I can't go out for long distance coaching and stuff like that. So I push it locally here. But I also would like to put the flag up for WES if anyone else wanted to do Western, and I will start introducing that into the clinics that I'm doing. But I just have been too busy to do clinics and go out to lessons with my routine.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do as one person, Nicole. Yeah.
Keep everyone happy. So clinics are going to be big, and I'm also going to join in with a Pirelli, I think it's Rachel Sawyer, Aaron Stevenson, she's a rehab lady, and I don't know the other 2 ladies, but they're also coaches. They're not horse trainers, but they do energy work or whatever, Reiki and all that. We're going to actually do some camps this day. We're doing an open day in July at their place, which is not only half an hour. So we're going to make sort of a horsemanship camp or club, if you like, so people can come and try and learn and be exposed, and at least have a place in the area which pops up horsemanship and for all types of learning, whether it's with your horse, you know what I'm saying. And then we'll push that through winter. But I'm really excited about that. To be fair.
So I think your passion for not just your growth but other people's is really, really special, Nicole. And, thank you for thank you for chatting with me today. I can't wait to see what you've got planned next.
Yeah. Oh, I've got my subscription page as well, because I've been doing reels, but I haven't been doing full-length videos because I've been storing them to put on my subscription page that will be up in a couple of months, which is looking good. So that should be good for us.
No,
but I still do my video. I love doing the videos,
No, your videos are fab. They're great content. Thanks so much, Nicole.
Thanks for tuning in to Talk Western to Me, where we celebrate everything Western riding and the incredible community that makes it all possible. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it with your fellow riders and Western enthusiasts. You can also find more Western riding tips, stories and resources over at Western Horse UK,